7.3, Lesson 2 on simplifying radicals. In Lesson 1, we were using what we called the product rule of exponents to simplify radicals. Lesson 2 now will be the opposite. It will be the quotient rule. So this should be a fairly short video. I don't have as many examples in this one. To show you what the quotient rule is, it basically says this, that if I have a fraction underneath a radical sign, that you can break that apart into the square root of the numerator divided by the square root of the denominator. You could also go vice versa. It works both directions. So if I start here with a fraction underneath, I can go this way, or I have a radical as a numerator and a radical as a denominator, and I have the same root that I'm looking for. I can change it back the other way and make it a fraction. I can go either way with it. That's the advantage of the quotient rule. So to look at some examples with you as to what the type of things I'm going to have you work with today. Everything that I'm going to have you work with right now will have the whole fraction underneath the radical sign. So we'll be going from left to right as I have in the example up here. So when I look at this, I have the square root of 9/25. In this case, you're going to see a lot of things where you do actually have something that will work with the square root. So I have the square root of 9/25. Following the quotient rule, that means I will do the square root of the numerator over the square root of the denominator, which is 25. So then I ask myself, the square root of 9 is 3. The square root of 25 is 5. So then my answer happens to be 3/5. Now, another thing that you may wonder about is, well, if I know can I just do the square root of 9/25? Can I just take that square root as it is and do the square root of 9/25? Well, one of the things you can do is, yes, you can take your calculator and they can enter that as a square root and do the fraction 9/5 on the calculator using the fraction key, the ABC key. So if I was doing this on the calculator, I would first be doing my square root key, and then I would be doing the numerator 9. Then I would enter the ABC key for my fraction key. Then I would hit 25, and then I would type equals, and you would see that when you do that, it will give you a fraction of 3/5. Now, if it gives you this answer, 0.6, that is the same, because the calculator then took the numerator divided by the denominator and turned it into the decimal form. You do not need to do this. The answer you would need would be right here, the fraction form. That's what we're after right now. Two more examples for you. Another one, pretty much like the first one, I need the square root of 436, square root of 436. Well, I recognize that both of these now are perfect squares, so I will be able to break that apart into the square root of 4 over the square root of 36. And when I do that, I get 2 over 6 for an answer. And 2/6 can be simplified, and that both of these are divisible by 2, so 2/6 is the same as 1/3. Our third and final example. What do we do when we have a variable in there? So now I'm even after a 5th root. So now I have a 5th root. I will write this out and I will say it's the 5th root of 7 over the 5th root of 32 x to the 5th. So what do I do now? Well, 5th root of 7. I don't know the 5th root of 7. That's an irrational number. So I will then just rewrite the 5th root of 7. Okay, so then I start with that, 5th root of 7. That's a very bad root sign. Then, on the bottom, I'm actually going to use the product rule to help me with this. I'm going to break this apart into the 5th root of 32 times the 5th root of x to the 5th. And I will work each part, the numerical factor and the variable factor, separately. So how does that work in the end? I have 5 to the square root, 5th root of 7 over, and now I go back underneath. Is there a 5th root of 32? Again, if you're not sure what that is off the top of your head, you can use your calculator on that. And you're going to be looking for, again, this function where it talks about this root key. This is the cubed root, and we're not after a cubed root, we're after a fifth root. So I have the y with a little y in the root location, and then I have an x underneath the radical sign. So if I want to do that, how do I want to do it? I want to type it on this particular calculator that I'm using. I have to type in 32, and I press this key, and it says, what root do you want? I want the fifth root. And then I hit equals, and it tells me the fifth root of 32 is 2. So the fifth root of 32 is 2. Now I want the fifth root of x to the fifth. And one of the things that you can take a look at here is if I want the fifth root, one of the shortcuts we can use, the algebra to it is, take this exponent 5, divide it by 5. What do I get? 1. I have just a plain old fashioned x to the first, or I can just say x. And at this point, this is where I'm now simplified. I can't do anything further with the numerator because that is an irrational number. And then the bottom is simplified down to 2x, and I will stop here. All right, if you have any questions as you're working, please let me help you. The assignment that I would like for you to do is right here. It's page 435, numbers 13 through 30. And please turn this in with lesson 1 after you finish and check your answers. Always check your answers. Now I am assigning even numbered problems here. Please make sure that you use my answer key to check those. Go ahead and take some time to write that down. Let me know what you need help with.